Today, on Taylor Talks Comics, we're going to talk about ZOT by Scott McCloud. Okay, so Scott McCloud, most famous for doing the Understanding Comics and making comics and reinventing comics. Probably Understanding Comics is the most famous. This was the series of superhero comics that Scott McCloud did right before Understanding Comics. Actually, he started working on Understanding Comics before he finished this series. So this is ZOT from 1987, 1991, the complete black and white collection. Here's the spine. This is put out by Harper Books. And here's the back. So this only collects issues 11 through... Sorry. What's the last issue number? Okay, it's not going to tell me. I'm sorry. This only collects issues 11 through 36. Now you might be asking, where are issues number 1 through 10? Those were colored comic books. This is the black and white, only the black and white comics. And that serves as a different era of ZOT, I guess. So rather than renumbering it to number 1, when they started a new era of ZOT, kind of a soft reboot-ish, with issue number 11, they just continued on with issue number 11 and kept going. This also doesn't collect an issue or two that Chuck Austin did the artwork on, and then it doesn't include ZOT 10.5. So it's not a complete ZOT collection. There are issues out there, but this will be a complete story. If you get this book, which you can find this for a good price, it's $25 cover price, but you can find it anywhere for probably a little bit cheaper than that. If you want to read this, like, cover to cover, this is the only ZOT I've ever read. I haven't read any of the first 10 issues or those other issues that were omitted, and I wasn't missing anything. There wasn't any sort of loopholes or anything. It has inspired me to now go back and collect every issue of ZOT. I want 1 through 36, including 10.5, that I'm going to custom bind, because I want all the letters, pages, and covers. I want the complete story because I love this book so much. This is one of my favorite reads this year. But I think you should try it out. So it comes with French flaps here too, on the front and back. And that's the cartoon portrait of Scott McCloud that you might be familiar with the Understanding Comics line. This is smaller than your average comic book size, just to give you a trim size look. What I have behind here is your average comic book, so it's a little bit smaller than that. But it's not terrible for that reason. I mean, one of the big inspirations for this series was manga. And that's how the easiest way to describe what ZOT is that, to me, it's kind of like Scott McCloud took Astro Boy, Silver Age, Adam Strange, and Love and Rockets, all 3 of those series together, put them in a blender, and spit them out onto the page with his awesome art style, which is great for me because I love Osamu Tezuka. I love Astro Boy. Love and Rockets is one of my favorite comics ever, and Silver Age Adam Strange is a phenomenon that I read just a couple years ago in the omnibus format, and I love that series. So putting all 3 of those together in this comic book was just like magic for me. And Scott McCloud does such a good job of it. It starts off with this introduction, and it talks about how growing up, he was a nerd, but he's more into like chess. He wasn't into comics. That one of his good friends, Kurt Busiek, yes, the Kurt Busiek, kind of pulled him into comics and got him interested in it. And then how this ZOT came to fruition. It even talks about Destroy, which is a great comic that I have. I have the oversized copy of. I'm gonna have to show it off on this channel one day. And then the characters, why it's in black and white, and what happens in this collection. And then he also talks about changes. So when he went to reprint this collection, he did change some things, and it talks about the changes there. And then here's the other ZOT too. It talks about, oh no, it's 14 and a half. Yeah, so ZOT 14 and a half was not collected in here. So, and he tells why. So this first section is called Heroes and Villains. And the cool thing about this, so it doesn't collect the full cover, but it will collect like the 2 covers here, and then he'll have a notation here about what's going on, who helped him out with it besides him, so like lettering, editor, and then it goes into that story. So there's 2 issues here collected before you'll get another notation, which I should have had this pinned off, but there is a chapter break though, so you'll know when the next issue starts. I'm trying to find it here. $17, $21 would be $38, so it should have been back here. Oh, here it is. So that's the splash page at the end of issue 11. This is beginning of issue 2. It says part 2 right there, and you can see the credits down there. So you'll know when a new issue starts, regardless if the notations are there or not. This one, you can see, has like 3 issues and some notations. It's at the end of the chapter, though, that you get these great kind of biographical pieces of Scott McCloud when he's making ZOT, and it's amazing. Like this, like even though I am going to custom bind all 37 issues or what have you, I'm still going to keep this collection because of this, these biography pieces, where he talks about him and his wife and the inspirations behind this. And this was super tragic because he talks about how this image right here, which is the last piece right here, was heavily inspired by his wife, who just recently, in real time, passed away tragically in a car accident. But this was obviously written, like this collection came out years ago. So at the time of the collection, his wife was still with us, but she is no longer in real life. So it's kind of heartbreaking context to read this in, I guess. Scott and his wife seemed to have a beautiful relationship together, and it was really amazing hearing how Scott felt about her and their relationship together in real time when it was still when she's still with us. So yeah, so this is great. But ZOT, yeah, so it's science fiction. It's a superhero from another world that comes into our dimension, and he falls in love with this girl here who is a normal American within our dimension. So it's like you have like that kind of like fish out of water kind of thing, where ZOT doesn't really understand the dimension of Earth. He understands his own dimension. He eventually takes Ginny and some of the Ginny Weaver and some of her friends to his dimension. At one point, ZOT gets stuck in the normal Earth dimension. So a lot of twists and turns there. But you get to see the story, the comic book evolve. So first, it's like a superhero story. And slowly but surely evolves, especially towards the end, to where it's a lot more Love and Rockets, teenage melodrama, even like old Archie comics inspired. But it's kind of a great and natural progression because the superhero stuff gets you, it's kind of like a two-dimensional learning of who the characters are. And then by the time you get towards the end, they're three-dimensional, fleshed out characters that you really fall in love with and really care about what happens to them throughout the story. And by the end of the story, you're just gripped and hooked in to the characters. And I don't know if that was like a intentional thing by Scott McCloud to make them kind of more two-dimensional at first, to really give each character a very distinct characteristic. Like, this character is the funny one, this character is the smart one, this character, there's a love triangle with Ginny, ZOT, and the other gentleman, this guy here. I'm terrible with character names, so I apologize if I don't have his name. handy. What is it? It's something... I can't remember. But this character, they have a love triangle. He's more of a realist and grounded and doesn't have these... has very realistic goals in life. ZOT is more like otherworldly. Like he has this huge cosmic scale goals with what he sees the world to be. So Jenny kind of has a love triangle between the two of them. And you'll see that too kind of parallels with her parents' relationships between her father and mother. And there's at certain points where there'll be whole issues that are dedicated to one character too that really fleshes out these characters. And you get to see how they interact with those people around them in their environments. But basically, like I said, this is Astro Boy meets Adam Strange meets Love and Rockets by way of Scott McCloud. And the great thing about this is, like I said in the intro, this takes place, like, by the time you get back here, Scott McCloud's already starting to work out what's going to become Understanding Comics. So this is kind of like, he's working out those ideas and concepts throughout the story. You'll start to see, if you're familiar with Understanding Comics, you'll get to see him put a lot of that to practice within this own story. So it's kind of crazy to have that familiarity with Understanding Comics and then get to know this story afterwards. And then, yeah, and then you get Life After ZOT, where he talks about what happens after that with Understanding Comics and that kind of thing. So it's great because it's a great comic in general. Great characters that are fleshed out that you're going to care about. A lot of fun stories, a lot of heartbreaking moments. But it's also kind of a biography of Scott McCloud and his time in comics, which he's one of the most important comic book figures ever for a number of reasons. Not just because of Understanding Comics, but making the Creators' Bill of Rights for comic book creators and independent comic book creators. You could make the argument that was kind of a catalyst or a first piece of what became Image Comics afterwards. So, great comic book. I absolutely love it. I absolutely recommend it to anybody. It's 576 pages of great comics that you're not going to want to put down. You're going to read cover to cover, and you can get it for less than $25. You can go wrong with that. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe, please. Comment down below with your favorite Scott McCloud comics, or your favorite ZOT moments, your favorite, your favorite time reading ZOT, or if you're going to go pick this up, let me know. But yeah, hit that subscribe notification bell on your way out, and we'll see you next video.